shall we begin?
Let's do it.
So how did you all meet? What was the first time you guys meet? How, and what was your reactions to one another?
How should we start this? I can start. I guess I can start. Well, I first saw you guys. Well, I guess we met too. We met very briefly. We opened for you in Quebec City back in, geez, I don't remember, 2016, 15, maybe, something around there. It was like a one-off show in front of like 90,000 people.
Outdoor festival, right?
Right.
Festival, which was like a dream come true. I was so excited. As you both know, I'm massive fans of yours. And so that was the first time we met, very briefly though. And then obviously when we went on tour together a couple years back, that's when we kind of became friends, right? I could say we're friends.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So that's right. Am I correct in that? I think that's where we all met, backstage.
I remember there's a lot of bands there, and it was pretty warm night outside. I remember that night meeting some of the guys in Billy Joel's band and some of the guys in Blondie, because they're at our hotel. They're all sitting around the bar, and it was a huge hotel. It was a huge gig. It was like there were a number of stages, right, and it was outside.
Am I thinking of the same show? I think we might be talking about two different shows, because I think when we played it was just us. I think it was just us.
Really?
Yeah. Maybe there was a band before. If there was, then I just blocked.
But it was outside, right?
For you guys, but it was outside, yeah. And it was a nice warm night. I remember we had Ben's car broke right before the show, and that was like a whole thing. So it was a little chaotic for us, but
was it the Ottawa Blues and Jazz Festival? No, wasn't that? Because like we played this one festival in Ottawa where the next day they had a big windstorm and was that Quebec? I don't know. Maybe it's Quebec.
You guys were on a run, I think.
Yeah.
Kind of like a one-off situation.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we kind of hit it hard. We did a big tour in 2011 after we got back, and then we did subsequent tours in like 14, 15. Something like that.
In the middle of
kind of blending together. Who can keep track at this point?
But I distinctly remember coming in contact with you guys when we were going to launch our what became our last tour, and so it just seemed like a really cool fit. We knew that we heard kind of through the grapevine that Thayil was a fan of Soundgarden, and so we checked it out, and it was fucking killer music. We knew that it was gonna like fit with our audience and with kind of what we were doing. And for us kind of elder statesman type bands, it's really nice to kind of connect with younger bands and just kind of just keep that going. That's kind of how we came up, and it's really fun when more established bands kind of bring on younger bands and that kind of thing. But I thought like musically it was a really, really good fit.
Well, I've been professionally trying to rip you guys off. No, I'm just kidding. But no, it was, getting to play with you guys and meeting you guys was just a dream. It's weird because I'm talking to you guys and I'm so used to talking about you guys in press now, which is but it's seriously, it was just a dream come true to me, and it was so incredible just to get to watch you guys every night. Like that's what I wanted. I just wanted to come and talk to you guys just to get to see the show every night. You guys put on such, I don't know, you're unlike anyone else. Like you really are. You're so unique and so defined and commanding with what you do. It's absolutely mind-blowing to watch every night. And so that was just the coolest thing in the world. And then it doesn't hurt to like that you guys are just the coolest people too. Like it's just, you never know. Like you always hear, don't meet, people you look up to, don't meet, because it can go very south. And it just was so opposite with you guys. You guys are so cool and so genuine.
That's always good to hear, because we've been in that opposite situation, opening for, you know, bigger established bands, or, you know, what have you. And there's always a little bit of, you know, like, show us what you got, kids, you know.
Yeah, no, you
People
guys
start
weren't like
talking.
that at all. You were just very welcoming, very open. Like your crew, just everyone was so great.
Awesome. That's good.
We're-
That's
we're-
good to hear.
We've been pretty fortunate in our choice, in our selection of bands that would open for us. They're always super talented. They're bands that we like. You know, we want, if we're going to be on the road for a month or 2 months or whatever, we want to be with people that we're going to get along with, and with music that we'll enjoy hearing while we're trying to nap in the dressing room, or I'm just saying that because there was some napping going on in that tour. Not at all because of what we were doing, what Pretty Reckless was doing, or Dillinger Escape Plan were doing. Believe me, those guys keep you awake. It was just from my memory of the management of the tour.
Kim's a napper.
I can't sleep on the bus.
I get it. Sleeping on the bus is the hardest. Can you sleep on the bus, Matt?
Yeah. I'm always exhausted at the end of the day. So yeah.
Well, Matt had his own bus away from the people that would keep him awake.
I did for one tour. That's true.
Chris didn't ride the bus because he had a difficult time sleeping on it. You know, it's the same deal. But
I envy the people that can just conk
Yeah.
out. Like, our bass player,
Yeah.
Mark, he can sleep anywhere, and I just look at him going like, oh, screw you,
the crew
man.
guys could
Here I am
sleep.
at 5 a.m. I'm sitting there going, I will go to sleep.
Yeah.
I will go to sleep.
Yeah.
It's hard with the engine going, and I feel like you get thrown around all the time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I think like when we did get back together, we were trying to figure out ways of, like, you know, Chris always had issues sleeping on the road. He was always, you know, like after like 2 or 3 weeks, you could just tell, like, you know, like the lack of sleep was just kind of like accumulating. So we really tried to navigate that part of our touring life once we did get back together. And so yeah, there were like, I think we did have like 2 buses, and I think the idea was like Chris and I were going to be on one bus, and then he just decided to fly everywhere. So,
Okay,
so
we're-
yeah, it was me and the non-partiers, the boring bus.
well, our bus got pretty boring too.
I was on the boring bus.
We're all very like mellow now. We've all mellowed out in our old age.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean,
Got to.
you got to.
Which in one way, it really makes it almost more fun, because it's just you're so focused on the show, and then that's the highlight of, you know, that's the highlight of the day and the night and the tour is actually playing, which is what it should be.
Yeah.
All the other kind of distractions are just gone now, which is good.
Yeah, I mean, we're there to, you know, put on the best show possible. I mean, I've always kind of had that attitude, but you know, it can be really distracting getting out there. Like you'll just have a great show, then you'll have a wild night, and it's just like, you know, next thing you're in bed at 5 a.m. and it's just like, what happened? But I don't really do that kind of stuff anymore. But yeah, I mean, that definitely was part of it when we were in our 20s and 30s and stuff. And
No, I feel like I started so early, because I started in my early teenage years, so I like got all of that out of my system very early on. Now I'm like an old 28-year-old who's like, I'm sleepy, I want some tea.
Yes, actually, that was the daytime was tea and fruit, and the nighttime was beer and pizza.
Yeah, sounds about right.
That was according to my schedule. But I'm drinking coffee. It's a more recent, you know, acquisition in terms of taste and morning routine.
I switched back to coffee. Through the whole pandemic, I was on just tea, like green tea and
I love tea.
mellow. And then I don't know what happened. But, I know what happened. I came back to New York, and the bodega coffee is the best thing ever. And so once I started drinking like 3 cups of that just because it was so good, then the caffeine addiction came back, and now I'm on lots of coffee again, which I was like,
okay, no judgment here.
Yeah, well, hey, it's the least damaging of addictions, right? Coffee. So anyway, what have you? I haven't talked to you guys in a minute. What have you guys been up to? Like, you've been playing, making music?
It's been crazy.
making ringtones for family members and friends.
Yeah, Kim and I are in the ringtone game now. I think we're 20 years too late, but hey.
Hey, well, you guys have always been my ringtone, so. Jesus Christ Bros has been
Nice.
my ringtone since.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
And
Which is actually, it's a great ringtone, but it's a terrible alarm. It's my alarm.
Oh yeah.
Shit out of me every morning when it goes off.
Yeah.
frenetic.
Way to wake up the day, though. It's good.
The other band, Dillinger Escape Plan, who is also touring with us on that last tour, they actually covered Jesus Christ Pose, and I think they released it. Can't remember if they released it as on a compilation record or as a single, but I'm surprised that anyone would try to cover that song because it is so frenetic. But then again, Dillinger's kind of a frenetic band. I just remembered where I first, not when I first met you, but when we got you on the tour, I'd heard from people that you guys were big fans. Then I happened to see an episode of That Metal Show. And I was, whenever I had a chance, I'd watch that. I love those guys. They're kind of a funny show, and I wanted to check out just various band members, how they responded to what it was they're doing and how they fit into what their community was like, And I saw an episode with you guys on it. And then a few months later, a list of bands, a proposal of bands that were available to tour with. And it's like, Dillinger Escape Plan, Pretty Reckless. These guys are great. They're big fans. You got to get these guys on. Get Dillinger on. I'd met, some of the guys in Dillinger at some shows, and then I remember on an email chain telling the band that, these guys are fans. They're doing some cool stuff. And when I first remember meeting you, I think it was you and Kato and maybe Ben. Can't remember. I think we had trailers for dressing rooms, and it was backstage. It may have been that. That's like a memory that sticks out in my mind. We may have actually met you, a few days before that. But
no, I think you're correct. I think that was the first time we actually really, we did the hi, good, nice to see you passing thing. But I think that was the first time we really kind of talked, and because all the dressing rooms you're right, they're outside and right next to each other.
Yeah. I think we were passing each other going to the bathroom. I think it was an outdoor show too. And I think eventually it was Matt and I standing around with you and Ben and Kato. We're all standing around talking and catching up and getting to know each other. Then we started introducing you to other members of our tour party as they went to access the bathroom. Hey, Nate, come over here. Hey, Ben, come over here. This is Taylor, Kato's Ben. Hey, there's Jamie.
That was the show too that Chris called us out on stage and said the Pretty Reckless, and I lost my shit. I thought it was you guys. He dedicated, or I don't dedicate. That's probably the wrong word, but he announced it was by Crooked Steps, and he said Pretty Reckless, and this one's for them by Crooked Steps or something. I had a heart attack.
And then we train wrecked the song.
Not at all. My God, not at all.
Quite a few train wrecks from that song.
It's first of all, King Animal is incredible. I love all your records, but that one's it's up there.
Oh, thanks, man.
Right on.
I mean, doing the whole comeback record's a little bit of a tricky proposal, but I mean, I think it came out pretty good. We were inspired to just get back together and just write music. That's kind of what we love doing.
Yeah,
that's what I love doing the most with the band. It's just songwriting and making records. The creative side of it.
You can tell. It sounds like you guys didn't miss a step. It didn't sound like there was a gap in time between records. It was just, it came out and it was
well, we missed a few steps,
so poetic, so full of depth and obviously amazing lyrics, and the musicality is just so all over the place in the best way. I've listened to that song when that came out. I hadn't had a new record come out, and I can remember how long that I was excited about, and so it came at the perfect time when I was for new music, and it was just it's absolutely amazing. So getting to hear that live was incredible too, obviously. Well, anything live. I feel like I'm getting very super
Yeah.
here.
Well, cool, man. Yeah, I mean, it's always fun to play those kind of festival settings where you just like you kind of roll up with your band, and it's just like, you know.
Well, they're either go completely terribly or they're
Yeah.
shows. It's one or the other. There's no in between at festivals.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I remember like we did like back in the day we would kind of we would sort of be in the middle of these festival dates, you know, and then like I think it was like '94 or something, like I think on one of the like we had one of the nights of Reading, and like I don't know if we were like the headliners, but we were pretty close to the top, and so it was nice to just to kind of like see us sort of wrap up the notches on our appearance day of show or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's always a different kind of mindset when you go into a festival, and I don't know, it was fun. It was really fun to roll into a festival with Soundgarden. I guess that's what I'm.
Hell yeah. I mean, I'm assuming it's the same for you guys, right? It's throw and go is what we call festivals, where it's like have it, throw it on stage, hope everything works, and like fingers crossed.
Yeah,
So
so sometimes those shows are really fun, and other times are just kind of not just because of this, you know, set or whatever. It's just like, you know,
just have everything falling apart. I mean, that was one of the things that I was most fascinated by, was how meticulous your guys' stage was, and how like perfectly set up, and like your crew was so on it. And I just looked at our crew, just like haphazardly, you know, putting mics up and going like, hey, you see what they're doing? That's how you do this. You need to take hits, pay attention.
It took a while.
Yeah, we had a great crew, especially the back line, and our stage manager Colin, you know, monitors with Marty Strayer and Matt. The backline guys are just the best. I mean, they got the nick. What did they get the? What was their nickname? The backpack crew, or the Cadillac crew, or the limousine crew.
They were the Black Hole Sons of Bitches because they could all play instruments, and they would do sound line checks for us.
Right. And they're all engineers.
They were all like really good musicians, like creative types, you know. So
they were all producer, engineers, and musicians, and here they are doing the best. I mean, all these guys were with us either on tour or in the studio. That's the amazing thing about it. So they're with us when we're rehearsing, they're with us when we're recording, and then they're with us on tour. That's the insane thing about it, because prior to that, we'd had crew guys that you'd see on tour. Mm-hmm. They weren't really with you in the studio, maybe a guitar tech or something. But these guys are all behind the board, you know. And then when we're on tour, they're behind the drum kit. So pretty amazing guys.
Well, you had a similar situation, Taylor, with Kato, because he would come out on tour with you guys. What was his function on tour normally? He
didn't actually really tour with us. He just made it an exception for you guys.
Okay.
So he wasn't missing that. I mean, we all bonded over the love of Soundgarden when we first met, me, Ben, and Kato, and Soundgarden and the Beatles, and that's how we went, well, all right, did we just become best friends? I think we just became best friends. So he did not for that, but yeah, we've now over the years kind of done kind of what Kim was just saying, where we've taken studio guys and gone, hey, you want to come on tour? It'll be a lot of fun, I promise. Yeah. I'm not sure how they feel about that, but like, you know, you've met Sean Kelly and stuff, and so we've brought from the studio out, and I think it makes a big difference because crew has to kind of be like, you know, they're like a family. They live together, work together. They know the songs inside and out, and know how you work and how you want things. And I think it's hard to switch out crew members, I think, especially when you get in a rhythm of people, you know.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, it becomes real familiar. It becomes, you know, second nature. You know, everyone's speaking the same language. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like we had, I remember. So I do remember Kato out on that 2017 tour quite a bit. So he was just kind of out there, just hanging out.
Oh yeah, he was out there hanging out and absorbing it all and loving every minute of it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, it's like we have a couple guys in our Soundgarden crew. You know, Nate Yacino, he's like he's like a major like producer, engineer.
We worked with you guys, and he's worked
Yeah.
with Andy
So it's
Carlisle
just
now.
nice when we can get all these, when we can surround ourselves by all these people that are so talented, like, you know, that can help us as musicians kind of navigate the studio, navigate our live performances. And yeah, it's just nice to kind of have that type of skill set, you know, when we're out there.
Well, and just having that kind of ability and that trust, I think, with the person is always very, I don't know, it eases my mind in a lot of situations of like, okay, I know they got me, like, this is fine. I can focus on what I'm doing and not have to worry about all the other elements because I trust that they know what they're doing.
You're exactly right.
And I think that's always a big relief for me. And I think,
yeah,
and Nate, you guys, I mean, Nate's so great. Like I try to steal Nate from you every time.
Amazing. Yeah, I mean, he's kind of an in-demand guy right now. So it's cool to see how everyone wants him, and he's just like, no, I'm just gonna stay home. I'm just gonna do my thing. So like, yeah, you know, we love working with him, and you know, everyone in our extended family for sure.
Yeah.
That's how it works, right? Someone with incredible talent is offered the opportunity, or they simply earn the opportunity because of their talent, their trustworthiness, and their fraternity. And Nate's certainly that case, and that's how people ascend in anything they're doing. Really, is do a good job and you know, make sure you're in a situation of mutual respect and trust. And Nate's one of those guys who I imagine will be a top-notch, you know, engineer, producer at some point. Same with, you know, a lot of the other guys you work with, like, you know, Josh Evans and Dave French. These guys are all super talented. Yeah, but you said it, Taylor. It is a function of trust, mutual respect. I mean, I like these guys. I'll hang out with them just socially and professionally, and it doesn't really change the dynamic at all. There's still this dynamic of, you know, producer, musician, engineer, you know, friend, compatriots. It works out really great with these guys. It's both professional and social and eternal.
Yeah, well, it's the inner circle that, you know, we all kind of create. Like, isn't that one of the cool parts about being in a band? You really create your own world and your own family.
And it's not easy.
It's not easy. It's not easy at all.
A few steps over the years.
But I think that was one of the things when I was way younger of why I wanted to be in a band. Like I always wrote songs and I always sang, but I didn't want to be a solo artist. I wanted to be in a band because I wanted that camaraderie and that family where you can choose your own family, you know. And it takes a minute, but when you find that kind of connection, it's unlike anything else. And it's just
had you played in other bands before you kind of started Pretty Reckless? Were you collaborating with other like songwriters and things like that?
Kind of not. I mean, I worked with a lot of different producers. I formed the Pretty Reckless when I was 15, like just turned 15, so it was pretty early on. But I started writing songs when I was very young, but kind of real songs that I wanted to record when I was like 12, 13. So I was starting to get into studios and working with different producers, trying to, you know, figure out what I was gonna do and where my voice lied and all that stuff. And but I always in the back of my mind knowing I wanted a band and not a hired gun kind of band where it's like get this studio guy and the studio guy and we'll put together a band. I really wanted that organic thing.
Where did you learn or develop that sense of team or camaraderie? I have a distinct understanding of where that may have come from with like myself and with my band members. I'm just kind of curious, since at a very young age you're working, where was that group? Was it on set, or were you in your team sports, or?
No, I think it was
Street gang.
I think it was the lack of having it, honestly. Because I started working, you know, as an actress and model and stuff when I was like 2 years old. So I traveled a lot and worked a lot when I was a kid, and I never was in one place long enough to really kind of form meaningful relationships or have friends or anything like that. And because my life was so kind of sporadic and constantly changing. I wanted some music was the thing that was always this constant for me. Like I always said, like writing songs was like my best friend. It was the place where I could go and say what I actually felt and be who I wanted to be instead of this kind of person or character that I was getting put into and being forced is a little harsh word, but for lack of a better term, kind of forced into these roles. And so music was just very personal to me. And I knew that I wanted to share that side of myself with people, like-minded individuals who understood that. And it took a while to find the right people. That's why when I met, I was working with different producers because I had a collection of songs. And when I met Kato, because he was, I met Ben through him. And it was just this immediate like kismet connection that you can't pay for. It was just one of those moments that was life-changing. And Ben, and that's kind of how the Pretty Reckless formed. It was the three of us, and Ben was in a band at the time with Mark and Jamie, and I heard their band and I went, well, this is really cool. What if I wrote the songs and became the singer and we changed the name? So it took a little bit of time, but that's basically what happened. I essentially joined their band and changed the name. So I was coming into a world that was pre-existing friendships and relationships and things, and I kind of slid right in there and didn't leave.
Yeah.
But
you adopted a family.
I did. I adopted my own family and kind of, got to pick my own family, which is not everyone's dream. But Kim, how about you? When did you kind of figure it out? It's your same question back to you.
It was always the same thing. It was very much band oriented and team oriented. I'd go back. I think about that. Why was I oriented towards being with other people in a collaborative joint effort as opposed to just doing my thing? Because when I was a kid, I started writing lyrics, learned how to play guitar, I started writing songs, and I was doing that by myself. So why did I feel compelled to have to share a vision with other people and learn their songs and to have like a pool of ideas? And I think there's probably a lot of little kid nerdy stuff. Like I was in Little League and I was in Cub Scouts. I loved baseball, and baseball was a concept of these great individuals together with a similar objective and a team thing. I think about the Cubs teams from the 70s, and there are all these Hall of Famers and all-stars that were working together in a really noble effort to lose. and then I think I probably also like things like the Justice League and the Teen Titans and the Fantastic Fours, like all these characters, these people with different powers and abilities, and unified they can achieve this technicolor thing. So I think it was probably stuff like that, and also monster team ups. I think when I was a little kid,
Well, that's awesome. I mean, I fully understand that. Matt, or should we just? I don't know how to run. I don't know how to run these things. So,
I guess mine isn't as comic booky as Kim's, but
it was real.
But I understand the sentiment. Like I played in a bunch of bands before I came up to Seattle, so I kind of had a feel of what like a band that isn't working felt like. You know what I mean? Just from playing with all these, I don't know, bands that just could, they were, I guess, more cover bands and things like that. But I guess for me, like I really need to. I like to collaborate, with my bandmates. I think that's a real important aspect of what makes a band interesting for me. Because like I really enjoy the creative side of what I do. So I think like if we can all sort of activate our powers creatively, then I think
isn't being a musician, not to interrupt you, isn't being a musician kind of like the closest thing to being a superhero if you think about it?
Well, in Matt's case, Matt's in a band that does the Wonder Twins activate thing before.
High five, right? And that was before my time, man. This was before my time. But yeah.
There must have been some initiation, like you had to run around the world 10 times real fast.
Yeah, it's there's definitely an indoctrination there, but I think for me it's just like it's yeah, I mean it's well, the great thing about Soundgarden was like, you know, the music was good from the get-go. It's like I remember watching these. I saw him play like in '85 or yeah, I think it was around '85 was the first time I saw him, and I don't know, like sometimes like you'll just sort of just get immersed in this sound that you hear. I mean, you know, like it hit right away for me, like in the audience, like, oh, this is a really good band. But you know what? They need me in the band.
Yeah.
To sort of activate to the next fucking level. So I don't know. Yeah, it's like
how did that happen? How did you end up? Yeah, I mean, obviously you guys met, but how did you, Matt, end up in?
God. Well, I mean, I met all these guys at gigs, I guess. I mean, Kim and I were neighbors for a long time. We would see each other.
Matt and I had mutual friends. We knew each other a few years before he was in the band.
Yeah, I was in a band. I was in a couple bands that these guys were. That went, you know, they would come out and see us play and everything like that. So yeah, I mean, our music scene at the time was really kind of small, kind of homemade, homespun. So everyone kind of knew each other and things like that. Yeah, I mean, I kind of heard. I was working my a day job at the time, and I kind of heard through the grapevine.
Where were you working?
I was working at Kinko's Copies. I was making all kinds of stuff. I was making posters.
I was gonna say, we're making Soundgarden posters.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Tad used to work there. We would work the night shift sometimes. Our buddies would come in, and I'd give them like 500 free posters and things like that. But yeah, I kind of heard through the grapevine that Soundgarden was looking for a drummer, and I loved them. And so I think I called up Kim, and I knew like, I don't know, 4 or 5 of their songs. And then Jack and Dino gave me a cassette, and I learned Ocean Fronts and
because Matt played in Skin Yard with Jack and Dino.
Yeah,
and Jack was a friend of mine.
Yeah,
I think when we split with Scott Sundquist, and we were kind of auditioning some drummers or calling people up. We heard that Matt was interested. We auditioned. Oh, what was her name? Friend of yours, Matt. Oh geez, you know, Chud and
Claudia.
Yeah, I remember talking to her. Somehow she was a connection for us, like to you. I don't know why we didn't just call Jack, but we heard you were available. There's some people who are auditioning for us that once they heard that we had heard that you were available, they were like, then why am I even auditioning? Yeah. And they were giving up. I remember Hero and I and Chris discussing the fact that you were available and interested. And Hero's point was, he's too good for us. and we kind of, Matt's kind of a jazz guy, and
not true.
And he's too good for us. So quit.
Yeah, I was going through all these weird, like, creative sort of moments of chaos in my mind around that time, 85, 86. I was like, do I want to play rock or do I want to play jazz? It's like I played all these rock bands. I was getting nowhere. I don't know what was going on. But then, luckily I found my band.
I remember coming back from a grocery store with probably some cigarettes and beer and, something frozen. And I walked by Matt's house that you shared with Jim, I believe, at the time, and the door was open. Said hi, came in, and had a bunch of your albums out. I remember thinking Matt's like a jazz guy and a prog guy. He liked some rock, but mostly the prog stuff. Like some of the like Jack kind of. I mean, Jack liked Sabbath a lot. Like Budgie, but anyways. Matt was playing the band XTC, which I loved. And the fact that he was playing XTC, we just started chatting about that, found out that he was a huge Bowie fan, and I was a huge Bowie fan. And in the course of the conversation and me going through his records, I found the Clark Kent 10-inch album which was Stuart Copeland's solo thing. And I had that for, since it came out, and I tried to learn those songs. And Matt was a huge Stuart Copeland fan. Then we started talking about, I don't know anybody else who has his record. And at that point, it connected in my head. He likes Bowie. He likes Clark Kent. He likes XTC. I go, this is cool. I think we're coming from the same place. This should work.
Well, you just answered my question before I asked that. I was going to say, what musically, like, did you guys bond over in the beginning? Because I think, I think it's important to have different opinions on a band, but also you have to have a the base that's the same. Like, that core has to be like.
Yep.
Yeah. For me, it's like I wasn't really familiar with a lot of the post-punk stuff. Like, these guys were really into Wire and Para Ubu, kind of like more like Killing Joke, like some of this kind of British and American post-punk kind of stuff that was more avant-garde or more sort of like on the fringe, that I really connected with, because I never really I always was kind of looking for music that I couldn't hear on the radio, that wasn't like commercially based or whatever. And so that was a real good learning experience for me. Like, these guys really exposed me to a lot of SST bands and things like that I wasn't really familiar with. When I came to Seattle, I was more into like the CBGB bands. I guess that was sort of my exposure to a lot of the early punk stuff, like the Ramones and
Dead Boys.
Dead Boys and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, they definitely had more of a understanding of sort of the underground rock movement in Europe and the States at the time, which was a really good education for me.
Very cool. Very cool. Kim, same question.
What was it that had you? What we knew you connected on a social level and personal level with Kato and Ben, but was there particular musics that were same thing, like did you rifle through their record collection or through their bookshelf and realize these guys are all right?
Yeah, it's really simple. It's the Beatles and you guys. I had worked with so many producers at this point, and it was a lot of pop people. I kept saying rock, and I felt like no one understood in the time, whenever that was, 2008 or whatever it was. No one knew what I meant. I think they thought like edgy pop, like they thought the outfit would be and I was like, no, I'm actually talking about music. Like, do you know Soundgarden? And I would say this to producers, and they'd go, I think I know the name because it's in the pop world. And they would go, yeah, okay. And when I met Kato, it was the Beatles, Soundgarden. He went, you like Soundgarden? And I was like, yes, I like Soundgarden.
Cool.
Worship Soundgarden. And he was like, me too. And that's I think where we both knew, even from different worlds, that it was like these two pinnacle bands, and Ben as well, in all three of our lives. So it was like, well, this is just gonna work. Okay, we all like the same, it's like the Bible to us. And so it was a very synonymous moment.
That's cool. We were somebody's Bowie, Matt.
You were, yes. You were 100% somebody's Bowie. I mean, Bowie was also a Bowie in that list, but yes.
Yeah, as there should be.
But yeah, no, it's 100%. It's you guys, and so it's just why.
Wow.
Of course, Kato was going to come to all those shows. It was just such a surreal moment for us, having starting the band 10 years ago together, and this, journey, and then suddenly being sharing a stage with you guys was just absolutely crazy, and awesome. And then, but so yes, use you guys, and then that that obviously translated into something very cool. I think we made something pretty awesome together.
Yes, definitely. A lot of it, very cool, a lot of fun. And that was odd. That was like probably the first time, I think. Yeah. That's the first time I was in a video since the Crooked Steps video, that was weird. That was the first time in like 15 years. And yeah, that was.
And under the most chaotic circumstances. First of all, I have to thank you guys so much for being a part of the song and the video and everything. Like I knew when I was calling asking about the video, it was going to be a bit like I didn't know how you guys were gonna feel about that. So I'm very thankful you guys said yes. And I'm trying to shoot it in a pandemic with me, Skype, or whatever, FaceTime.
Yeah, you were on
camera, move it to the left.
Yeah, you there was a laptop with Taylor was FaceTiming with us the whole time we were shooting that video, and so yeah, it was.
Which we didn't have to do anything.
Your watchful eye was watching us the whole time, and yeah, but it came out really good, and I think the song came out really good. And one thing I really liked about that experience is it was pretty easy, you know, like it wasn't really hard, which I think, you know, that's always a good indicator.
You mean it wasn't a hassle?
It wasn't a hassle. It wasn't difficult.
It was
fun.
Exactly.
So, and I think that comes out in the music. Like you can kind of hear us, like, you know, Kim and I are like totally rocking again, and it's just, I don't know, it's just a cool combination.
Just as a side note, I personally hated making videos, but that's what I mean by it wasn't a hassle. So it was fun. It was like, all right,
yeah,
because we were doing it for you, as opposed to like, doing it for the damn record company, the record. You know what I mean?
Well, thank you. If it's any consolation, you guys look completely awesome. I just was like, don't do anything. This is my direction to the guys. I was like, just put them on, put the backdrop.
Let them be old.
Let them be them. Like, no direction. Just do you. And it'll
Not those notes. Don't do anything. Say, okay, so I won't trim my beard.
No, trim the beard, Kim. Definitely trim.
I gotta say, it's COVID beard.
That's right.
It looks great.
No, a pandemic beard. Sorry, it's nice.
Beard.
But that was really fun, Taylor. And then, like, I guess we could also talk about the when you saved our asses at the tribute show, the Chris Cornell tribute show.
Thank you.
In 2019, we had different singers slated to sing a couple songs. And
you threw a song at you at the last minute.
The last fucking minute.
Two, guys. You threw two songs at me at the last minute. I was supposed to do one. I ended up with three.
The one
you
guy.
Nailed them.
Yeah. So thank you for saving the day on that one, boy. Woof.
Well, any way I could help, but as long as it's maybe some point I can get a redemption on the at least Rusty Cage, because you guys threw that one at me literally. It was the night before at the dress rehearsal.
Mm-hmm.
I was in the car, Matt, because weren't you gonna sing it?
Good God, I'm so glad that didn't happen. Okay, so after we did our dress rehearsal, we heard that our guy couldn't make it. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll sing it. I'll try to sing it. So I remember the morning of our dress rehearsal, I was just in the fucking bathroom, like cranking Rusty Cage and with my little drum pad, trying to sing and play this fucking song. It's just like, I cannot do it. But you know what? I have to do it. I have to at least try. So I went into there with that mindset. It's like, okay, I'm going to sing Rusty Cage, man. And so I couldn't do it. It wasn't happening.
And you know Taylor.
See, I would argue that you could do it. You were doing it. I was there. I heard it, and I thought it was cool.
But it just wasn't good. I mean, it didn't elevate the song to the level that it needed to be at. So I knew that. And our crew was like, yeah, that sounded great. Yeah, it's gonna be really great. Yeah. But it was just like, you know, it's just one of those situations where that was the only option that was presented to me. So I was like, I gotta do it. You know, I just gotta do it. But then luckily, Jerome Crooks was like our tour manager. He's like, okay, where's Taylor? Where's Taylor? Let's get her back. Like you were on your way to the hotel or something.
This was my experience. You guys were still on stage, so we all sound check Loud Love and Drawing Flies, which we had just added, and it was like, okay, good, see you tomorrow, like later. I'm in the car, you know, took the in-ears off and everything. I'm in the car, door closed, starting to roll out, and Jerome comes and pounds on the window and goes, wait, opens the door and goes, they need you back on stage. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And as we're walking to stage, Jerome turns to me and he goes, yeah, you're singing Rusty Cage. And I went, what? And he went, yeah, you're singing Rusty Cage. And I went, well, I know Rusty Cage, but I don't know Rusty Cage. Like it's a different, you know, singing along to a record is very different than trying to perform it.
That's right.
And so I'm standing on the stage, like, put your ears back on. I'm standing on the side. You guys are playing it, not you're singing it. I'm going, this song's great. You don't need me. This is no, I'm fine. And Jerome smacks me on the butt and just goes, any fucking time now. And I was like, I guess I walk out. So I walked out, I think, in the middle of the song, and it took a while. That song's complicated.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yes.
Not an easy.
That's what makes it more impressive. We threw it at I think there's another singer or two that we like you said, you weren't in the room at the time. I think we threw it by a few other people, and did we throw it at Taylor Hawkins, and he just flat out said no?
He said no. Yeah, there's a couple. Yeah.
And then we tried it with somebody else, and you know, the arrangement's a little bit weird, but you got it. And other people are kind of struggling with it. And we thought, well, what are we going to do? So Matt obviously knew the arrangement. So
I still think I need a redo, and I only got it. I was just glued to you, Matt, the whole time. I was just like, you're in the audience. I'm staring at you.
Yeah, well, it was cool because like I kind of learned I learned the lead vocal and the kind of the bridge part kind of for the first time. Like, you know, I'm a guy that doesn't always like pay attention to the lyrics, and it's like I you know what I mean. So it's just like I knew the song like front and back at, you know, with the music and everything, but learning the vocals. And especially the bridge, it was just like, wow, I just had a newfound respect for what Chris had to do when he was playing guitar and singing that damn song. But
100%.
But anyways, yeah, I think it came out really good. So you know, one fun thing, it's like we kind of did it as a duet, which I thought was kind of
well, I just kept looking at you going, Matt, you're gonna sing as much of this as possible. Like, you know it. You took it.
Well, anyways, thank you for saving the day there. That was a fun and nerve-wracking experience.
It was a very, I don't know, that show, that whole experience is a roller coaster of emotions, I think. To say
so any people out there should make note of that's a testament to Taylor's musicality right there.
Absolutely.
Be able to nail that thing, because we certainly had some talented people up there on stage, and they either didn't want to take that song on or were unable to find their way around it, and Taylor did it. So right on.
Thanks, Ken. Still have to do a redo though, because I'll kill it now. Like, now I know it.
Now I know that.
Just thought, you know, that 5% more confidence would be great. No, that was a wonderful night, and thank you guys so much for having me come be a part of it.
Absolutely.
Really meant a lot.
Well, I mean, changing topics, have you been like attending shows, or have you been like, no? Yeah.
No, I haven't done anything. I've been in a rehearsal space for the past 6 months, though. That's
okay. So you guys are just preparing to go play live right now?
Yeah, we
awesome.
leave our first show back in almost 5 years. I mean, the last time I was on a stage was with you guys and at the tribute.
What are you going to do to get the? I imagine you're going to be out there on this on Death by Rock and Roll. So what are you going to do now? I mean, you already put out like 3 singles and a few, right? So what will you do? Just revisit those, or how do you?
Yeah, well, I mean, we haven't toured on Death by Rock and Roll yet, so like, you know, we put out a bunch of singles. There's another one coming out in April. The last one, obviously being Only Love Can Save Me Now, which congratulations, guys, since it went to #1, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah. Kim, we're #1.
We're #1.
We're #1.
So it'll be interesting to go toward the new record, because I feel like it's going to be a different experience than normal, because, you know, normally put out an album and you're immediately on the road with it, so you're kind of teaching the audience the songs in a live setting because they haven't heard the album in full yet, whereas in this case the record's been out for a year, so hypothetically the audience should know everything, which will make it kind of a new kind of experience. I think that would be hopefully really fun. Hopefully it's a new song, but a song they also know now, so I think that'll be.
Now, are we playing a festival together this summer, Taylor?
I think so. Yeah. I'd have to look at the schedule. I don't know which one. With Pearl Jam, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure which one it is though.
Okay.
There was like a bunch, and now the schedule's changed so much.
Oh my God, totally.
I'm picking up like, because I think we had dates together in 2020 too, and then that got canceled. And then, I mean, now it's 2022, which I keep saying it's 2021 because my brain's not catching up with the time. Yeah. But yeah, no, that'll be great. It'll be a lot of fun. And our first show back is in Washington. I'm just throwing it out there.
What's the date?
It's April 1st.
Nice.
Where you guys really April 1st though?
Is it really?
Is it really April 1st?
Really?
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, until I call you on April 2nd. No, no, I actually, now you're making me question it. I'm gonna have to look at no, it's April 1st.
Where in Washington?
It's in Spokane.
Oh, yes, that's right, Spokane. That's
It's Spokane or Spokane?
Spokane.
Okay.
Spokane. All right.
But I like Spokane. I'm gonna start using that.
Well, I like the hard
A, yeah.
the hard A.
Love
It's easier to say into a microphone.
That's right. Well, that's cool. So no,
Come on, Matt. Jeremy Spokane.
Spokane. But yeah, April 1st, if you guys want to take the long 4-hour trek from Seattle or whatever
Where did
it
Matt
is.
go?
Huh?
I don't know,
I'm
Matt froze.
Yeah, where's your picture?
Matt's frozen with this.
I'm frozen. Yeah, I've been frozen forever, right?
You have been.
Yeah.
Yeah, where are you?
Can you? I've been frozen forever. Yeah.
No, I cannot see you.
Okay. Well, is this?
Maybe you need to exit and re-enter.
Okay, let me try that. Well, I don't want to do that. But I've been frozen. You guys, it's just been frozen this whole time, right?
Well, it unglitches for a minute.
I can see Taylor and I are
damn internet.
normal. Your screen is black.
Okay.
It's gonna be my new trick when I'm.
Hey, hit stop video and then start video again. Where it says at the bottom of the screen where it says video.
Okay.
Stop it and start it. See if that does anything.
Damn, Kim, you got Zoom skills. Look at you.
Dude, probably just just
nice.
blowing the dust out of the cassette.
Nice.
There you are.
There I am.
Better. I'm gonna start doing the thing in interviews when I get asked something I don't want to answer. I'm just gonna go, "That's a really good question."
Yeah.
Just take time to think. Yeah, so April, it would be great to see you guys if you're around.
Nice, man. So no Seattle date, huh?
Not this round, but
Okay.
But once we start in April, we're out for a while. I mean, not everything's announced yet, but it's the States and then Europe, all the festivals in Europe, and then back in the States and Canada, and then back to Europe. But I don't know when it's coming out, so I can't really announce everything yet.
Yeah.
But no, we're doing the cycle again, and then back in the studio.
Nice. Oh, back in the studio. So you guys been writing new music?
I'm always writing, man. Always working on it.
Good.
It's hard for me to commit one way or the other, because when I'm in tour mindset now of getting ready to go out, and that's a whole other kind of mindset than the internalization of writing. So I feel like I need tour for a bit. I need to get out of my own head and back into the world, because the 5-year internalization of self-torture, I think, took its toll. It's time to go say hi to some people, crank some ass. But it's gonna be fun. It's the cool thing I think about this time around is we've spent 6 to 8 months in the rehearsal studio just playing with kind of no purpose because of the pandemic, so we had nothing to do and nowhere to go. And that's just, we've never had that kind of opportunity before. We were always rehearsing with a purpose, for something, preparing for a tour or a show, or get these songs down for this thing. And in this case, it's just playing with no time limit or anything, and it's been so much fun. I'm like, what have we been doing with our lives?
I know, right? It's that transition, getting back into the swing of things. It's that's been the hard part of it for a lot of people. So yeah, I mean, getting back on tour is going to be interesting for me too. I'm definitely looking forward to it.
When do you start again?
Well, let's see. Beginning of May is when the official kind of when it's going to kick off. Yeah. So, but yeah, just kind of gearing up, getting ready.
Well, you guys have played in the past couple of years.
Yeah, I did some gigs in September, end of September, early October. Yeah.
And how was that? Did it feel normal?
It felt fine. They were outdoors, so it was I wasn't in an indoor kind of setting. But I did play a gig in Seattle in July 2021 with this band called Bam Bam I used to play in. We reformed and played a gig at the Central. So yeah, it was a little tricky just kind of navigating the small club gig. But yeah, I'm ready.
Yeah.
Kim, ready to start touring again?
Yeah, Kim, where are you at?
I did that at Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That's great. How was that?
It was, I wasn't used to playing for long periods of time. I ended up playing on stage for like 3 hours, I believe, with a number of different, I think 9 different bands that all had like a coach with them, you know, like Stephen Perkins from Jane's Addiction was one of them, Jason Evans with another guy, and then like 4 or 5 what they call campers, people who you know signed up for the experience of jamming and learn, you know, trying out their chops and licks in a band situation with and doing songs with somebody who, you know, had recorded or written it. So I had to play Fell on Black Days and Outshined, you know, a number of times.
Endlessly.
Those 2 songs. And I think twice I got to whip out Spoon Man, and couple of guys wanted to do Flowers, so that was fun. But it was a different experience. It was fun. The enthusiasm that the campers and the fans showed it's that insight that Chris shared with us when he talked about going to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I initially, you know, thought, well, okay, whatever that's about, you know. Chris had attended it with some other people who were being inducted, and he said, you know, the fans really appreciate this. You know, they feel it's a vindication for their taste and of someone who they've championed since, you know, a young age. And that insight was, I remember that as a young guy and liking bands like, you know, whatever, Aerosmith or the Ramones, and saying, yeah, right on. So it was a revisiting of that kind of enthusiasm and commitment to music, which I think was after 2 years of this pandemic thing, it was pretty refreshing and cool. It was a lot of fun. I'd probably do it again.
Nice. That's awesome. That's very cool. I want to go to band camp.
My initial thought was like, I don't know. With so many people being unemployed, or, you know, so many of our crew guys not being able to tour, and friends' bands tours on hold and canceled, I kind of figured I didn't have a good reason to decline an opportunity to work. So I thought, yeah, I should do this.
Where was it?
At least out of respect for all my unemployed friends. You know.
Where was it?
LA.
In LA. Okay.
So I flew down to LA.
Did they record at the end of it, or I don't quite understand what it is, or is it just like a lessons, like master classes, or?
Not well. There's an interview session. There's like you're on stage, and there's a Q&A you take from the fans and stuff. And those guys, the campers go down there and they rehearse, you know, a number of songs. They learn how to play with other people, people who are perhaps, you know, that they've never met before. They have a counselor as a professional musician who works with them. And in this case, then they learned a bunch of Soundgarden songs. They went up and got to jam with me. The next day they got to jam with Jerry Cantrell. And the day after they got to jam with Dave Cruzen, who used to hold the throne that Matt now holds over at PJ. So that was, and you know, it was definitely a different experience, but it ended up being super fun. It was, you know, it's definitely something I got to learn about something.
Sure. Well, it sounds like a, you know, once in a lifetime opportunity for the people attending this camp. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, the camp.
I was definitely good again.
And you get to leave. Were they? No, I shouldn't ask that.
What?
I was gonna say, were they any good? But that's probably shouldn't ask.
There were some guys. There were
people who knew how to play already, or is this like a?
Yeah, no. A lot of them knew how to play. They you know, some of them are in bands. There's a few singers that were really quite good. There's a kid, a drummer who was, oh God, he was like 16 or 15. He was amazing. I imagine you'll hear from him in the future because he was really talented and eager. He was the one guy who got the that turnaround and outshine the boom bang. You know, everyone screwed that up, but which is fine. I mean, I would screw it up if I didn't have Matt on stage with me. So this kid got it, and there's a lot of guitarists, and as you know, there are a lot of great guitarists out there. There are many of them who never leave their bedroom or their basement, and they learn how to play all the Steve Vai stuff and all the, you know, everything, and Satriani, and they're in their room with their computer, and some of those guys now have an opportunity to play with other musicians, and they're on stage. I met a few guys there who said they've never played with other people before, and they, you know, had all the pedals and the
Yeah.
and now they're playing with a drummer and a bass player, and they're nervous, but it's that was strange. I mean, I remember being that guy with a guitar in his room and a radio, but yeah, it's good to remember that getting the opportunity to play with a group or a team isn't necessarily readily available for everybody.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I feel like also everyone, I mean, maybe I'm wrong on this, but I feel like the younger set of, you know, new players and musicians, they live in the virtual Instagram world where it's like,
Yeah.
I don't need a band. Like, I don't need to play with people. I can just shred for 30 seconds and post it, and look, I'm great. You know what I mean? Like, they're missing a whole kind of fundamental element of what it is to be a musician, which is playing with other people.
Right. Yeah,
There's definitely a social element that they hadn't really explored in their playing, and so I think that was I think I said to one of the guys, I was surprised that this guy hadn't. One of the guys, you know, when he was nervous and he hadn't played with people before because he was technically, you know, really good. I said, there's got to be someone at work who plays drums. That guy probably has a garage. Go hang out with him.
And he might have a keg.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah, no, but that is important to, like, you know, just to emphasize that, you know, music is a collaborative process, or, you know, it can be. I mean, you can also compose things individually, which is great as well. But I think for us, it's like you know, playing in bands, it's best when it is collaborative and there's a camaraderie and just kind of a happiness of being together that you can that can get translated into the music, you know.
100%.
That will hopefully connect with other people in the audience.
No, it's like I always said, like, I want to be in the Beatles. I don't want to be Elvis. Like, who wants to do this alone? It sounds so boring and lonely.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. It's like, you know, I want to be on the 69 Cubs. I want to be part of the Justice League.
Yeah. I want to be Wonder Woman. Right? Wonder Woman is Justice League. You guys seen any cool movies or anything new? Anything fun?
Oh boy.
I've not been to a theater, I think, since pre-pandemic.
I actually just learned that John Wyman, you remember him? He recorded.
Yeah.
He just recently rented out a movie theater, which I didn't realize you could do for not a crazy amount of money. Like, you can just rent the whole theater. So he rented it out to go see Dune. And we're like, oh, you went? That's so cool. Like, are you a huge Dune fan? He was like, no. I was like, well, you must have been a huge fan from when you're like the original, when you're a kid. He's like, no, not really. I don't think I ever saw it. I'm like, just rented out a theater for yourself to go see this movie that you're not even a fan of. He's like, yeah, really wanted to see it. Like, all right. So I ended up.
Baller move.
Yeah, so we ended up doing that and went to go see the new Spider-Man with the band, and it was the first theater I've been in I don't know, 5 years or something. It was actually pretty fun.
Nice.
You've seen shows, or you said no, you haven't gone to any rock shows, or?
No, I haven't seen any shows, but
I think I've seen.
I'll just see a billion probably. So,
Yeah.
How about you? Have you been in any?
I've declined. You know, there's some shows that have come through that I would have loved to have seen. You know, Dinosaur Jr. was just here, but I just couldn't bring myself to go be around in a room with a bunch of strangers, which I would have felt regardless of whether there was a pandemic or not. But in this case, it's like, I'll pass. You know, it's you kind of hope the tours will come around again. I did see Ann Wilson like a few months back. And then it was great. Of course, she's amazing. Her voice is crystal. And then afterwards, you know, you count down 2 weeks, you know, it's like, make sure you're in the clear.
It's
Yeah.
crazy. I don't know how I'm gonna feel going on the road. I'm trying to just not think about it. I think is the best way to handle it at this moment in time.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Yeah, I haven't been out there either, and it's just from what I understand, it's like you have to have a bubble within the bubble. Like there's like all these different bubbles kind of traveling around, and you know they don't interact, and it's just like it's gonna be trying, but that's how it has to be done these days. So
yeah, and I'm pretty boring anyway. Like I don't really like to hang out with people and stuff. So I'm like, this will be fine. It's not gonna
There
be
you
much.
go. That's
Like, you get the core band, hang out in the dressing room, and then you go play, and that'll be fun. And then you go back on the bus and, you know, watch Spinal Tap or something. Like
there you go.
fine.
Records, books, and movies.
Exactly.
Taylor and Matt, my girlfriend, who you know, Taylor, I for Christmas, amongst various things, I got her Bruce Dickinson's new book or autobiography, because I have a few friends who are definitely Iron Maiden fans, you know, growing up.
Mm-hmm.
So we just found out that like this weekend he was a few blocks away, downtown Seattle, reading from his book. I didn't know it was a new book. I saw Bruce Dickinson, so I got it for my girl, and then find out that Bruce is on tour reading from his autobiography. I didn't know
he's been doing a spoken word tour, from what I understand, and he's been like singing a cappella on the book tour as well. So
is he flying himself on the tour? Is he like?
I hope so. I sure hope so.
A spoken word tour. Interesting.
Yeah, so that was a pretty trippy. So we didn't go. With that's the point.
At the end of the story.
Yeah, it's like, well, we should go.
Great opportunity. We didn't go.
I know it's because of the just this appraising your degree of comfort. You know, this that's why we're on a Zoom call. You know, we should be in a room together with tea, coffee, or beer.
I concur. I agree with that statement.
Well, we will soon.
We will soon. I'm gonna be on your guys' side of the world here soon. And obviously if you're ever on the East Coast, call me. But yeah, miss you guys. I'm excited to see you. This has been a lot of fun. And
we miss you too, Taylor, and good luck out there. Hopefully I'll see you somewhere
before
in Europe.
Before. But if not, 100%.
Awesome. Well,
Great
hey,
talking to you guys.
Tim, give my love to I don't know if I should say names on here, but give my love to your lady, and Matt, vice versa. And thanks for doing this. Great to talk to you.
Thank you, Taylor. Good seeing you.
Good to see
Good seeing you, Taylor. Good seeing you again, Matt. Are you sick of me yet?
Good seeing you, Kim.
Let's go do Wordle. So I'll go do Wordle.
All right, guys. Bye.
All right. Later.
Yeah.
See you, Taylor.
See you again.
How do I do this?
I don't know. I'm not.